right, welcome everybody to the ASCP podcast, Our Experience. My name's Chad, alongside my co-host Tom, and we are celebrating President's Day this week on the podcast. So we have our presidents with us, Marsha and Rob, and we'll get into that in a second. President's Day is actually pretty festive in Alexandria, Virginia, where ASCP is headquartered. We have a parade every year, George Washington parade. And this year, the Mortar and Pestle Society, which is the organization that supports the Stabler Ledbetter Pharmacy in Pharmacy Museum in Alexandria, is walking in the parade to support the Apothecary Museum. So lots of pharmacy connection and lots of history with respect to President's Day in Northern Virginia,
But
DC.
just to clarify, we don't do a parade for ASCP president.
Well, I mean, maybe we should have like
I'm thinking
big heads of Marsha and Rob. And like, these are our current presidents as we walk down the street. It's not a bad idea, actually.
There you
I
go.
like that. But Marsha, Rob, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here. What we're going to do is we want to hear about you and your origin stories as pharmacists. So, Marsha, we'll start with you. How did you get here?
How did I get here? Well, I'll start with I went to pharmacy school at Virginia Commonwealth University in Virginia, Richmond, and I worked in various different pharmacy practices until I found the one that I really liked, and it took me a number of years to find that. So I worked in community pharmacy, retail pharmacy. I worked in some hospital pharmacy. I worked in pharma for a bit, and then I found long-term care. I found a senior care pharmacy. And I haven't pivoted from that point since. So I've worked in dispensing. I've been consulting managers. I ran a long-term care pharmacy in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And somewhere along the lines, I decided back probably in 2010 or something, some years ago, to start my own business. So I kind of had one foot in both worlds. I was working as an employed long-term care nursing home pharmacist and started learning how to provide services to community-based patients and not people living in an institution or congregate living setting. Around that same time, a bit earlier, I joined ASCP, I think in the late 90s, because my boss at the time was very active in ASCP and she encouraged all her staff to be active. So I've been an ASCP member for a really long number of years. I'm not going to do the math right now. And have worked in committees and worked on special projects for ASCP and the foundation. And the last couple of years, been lucky enough to be your president-elect and this year your president. So hopefully can help create projects and input on some topics that furthers our presence in healthcare.
It's awesome. You're a pharmacist of the people. I like that because you have had experience. You don't think of older adult pharmacy or senior care pharmacy as nursing homes or consultant. It's the care of older adults, and I think that's really important and important part of what you bring. All right, Rob, how did you get here?
I'm going to start my story a little bit earlier than Marsha started hers. I don't remember ever wanting to be anything besides a pharmacist. My mom came to my elementary school to tell my class one time about her being a pharmacist when I was a kid. I always gravitated towards science and math, and so it just kind of all along seemed like a natural career path for me. And she, though, was a retail pharmacist. She's retired now. And so when I went to Butler University to become a pharmacist, I just assumed that I would be a retail pharmacist because that's what I knew. I had been to the store with her. I had worked as an intern at a retail pharmacy. And so that was what pharmacists did. I knew one pharmacist that worked in a hospital, but I couldn't really figure out what she did at the hospital. So then got to school, went through clinical rotations and thought, I really enjoy this more clinical piece of pharmacy and during my hospital rotation in Indianapolis, thought, oh, this is really interesting to me, and collaborating with other healthcare professionals, and not that retail doesn't, they just do it in a different way, right? But that closer connection was interesting. And then there was a consultant pharmacist that came in and spoke to our pharmacy class about her career as they exposed us to different facets of pharmacy. And I thought, now there you go. That's interesting me. That's what I want to do. And so when I graduated, I couldn't find a consulting position. So I spent some time in hospital pharmacy too, Marsha, when I first got out of school, and then interviewed for a consulting position, and was told that they were really looking for somebody with experience. And I took a chance, and I said to the gentleman that was interviewing me, I said, well, there's only one way that I can get experience. And he liked that I said that and hired me. And so I've spent pretty much my entire career working either in operations or on the clinical side of different pharmacies. And currently I am the vice president of clinical services for Synchrony Pharmacy, which is a long-term care pharmacy servicing SNF patients, ALF patients. We're even servicing some patients that live in the community now. But, and then like Marsha, I've been around ASCP for a long time. I think we probably joined around the same time, and have been a part of various committees, and then more recently, a couple of terms on the board, and now excited to be your president-elect.
Awesome. So my key catchphrase for you is pharmacy is family. So there you go. We have a pharmacist is the people, and we have pharmacy is family.
I like that a lot.
All right. Well, I did do some calculations. You are, Marsha, you're the 52nd president of ASCP, which makes Rob the 53rd. And speaking of pharmacy as family, Marsha, your husband Lee was a president of ASCP. He was president number 38.
Yeah.
So just a little ASCP presidential trivia. So that's cool.
ASCP's one of the few organizations that people, when they come in, they're in for life. It seems like it's not something that turns a lot, and that just is a testament to that kind of that family oriented part. I mean, we've always been there. Long-term care is a very specialized segment in many ways, but I kind of say like once you're in long-term care, you kind of know everybody, and the reason why is because we typically don't leave. You don't see people coming in and out, and their history and now their desire to take more of a leadership role is testament to that.
I think that's true. I mean, there are people that I've known, I met through the organization probably 30 years ago. We're still look forward to seeing them at the meetings. Know that you can reach out to them. It doesn't matter what state they live in. If you've got a pharmacy question or practice question, and it is a family.
I completely agree with that. There's so many people that even if their career path has taken them to other careers, they still come back to ASCP and participate because of the valuable education that we provide at those meetings, and just the fellowship camaraderie is fantastic.
And it seems effortless too. It's not like ASCP has some kind of like culture awareness joint, division or something where they're trying to, create this unity. It just seems like it naturally happens. And I don't know if that's, due to the foundation or maybe we're the only ones that can, stand each other. So maybe we just find a common bond or something like that. But I don't know why that is, but it certainly is proven to be true.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, when you look at our meetings and, we have the Berman Awards, I mean, how many people there, have been there? This is their 20th meeting in a row, and we're honoring people that have spent their careers in this space. And it's not just the pharmacist, it's the people that work in industry. And so it's whatever it is, it affects the people that go to the meetings and are part of ASCP, not limited to just the pharmacist. It's everybody, the vendors. And it's just, I guess it's because it's that much fun, right?
It is a lot of fun.
It is.
Some of those, a lot of hard work to get the meetings set up. and to have all the education programs and all those parts that happen behind the scenes, fairly seamless to the participants. But there's social functions, there are fun things with the students, their Jerry party. There's all kinds of stuff for everybody, a little bit for everybody, to kind of kick back your heels and not just learn together, but play together, I guess.
So let's talk about like what your vision for the future is. A lot of, in my observation, the baby boomer population has kind of redefined everything it rolls over. And I think our space, as it relates to pharmacists and med management, we're reacting to that baby boomer population. So maybe part of this is we're constantly in this dynamic of taking care of older adults, but those older adults aren't the same older adults that they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We've got this acumen around, I know what to do with this 70-year-old with these comorbidities that they're on these drugs. But now we're talking about that 70-year-old at home and not in a nursing home or in an assisted living facility, and being able to apply all of that experience and knowledge to people in different parts of the healthcare system. So what is your vision, Marsha? Where do you think pharmacy is going? I mean, I know it's President's Day and we're in an especially disruptive time. But where do you think pharmacy is going, and what's going to get us there?
Well, I think pharmacists at ASCP and pharmacists in general, we need to keep building the awareness that we are leaders in healthcare, and we follow the aging adult, back and forth through transitions of care. They're at home, they're in the hospital ER, they're in the hospital, they go to a SNF, they go back home, they go back and forth. So this movement back and forth across different our places of care, and it compels us to learn how to take care of the aging adult no matter where they live. And pretty much they're all common features. It's the social determinants of health. It's the right medications at the right time for the right illness. All those things are the same. So what's different is trying to find them and track them and provide services where they live. And I think ASCP is doing a great job of providing a lot of education, kind of looking beyond the nursing home, but looking into other places of care or at the individual home level. And we actually tried to create ASCP as a professional home this year, identifying 6 different practice tracks or practice channels where no matter where you practice, there are older adults there. So the common denominator is older adults, and then the practice channel is the particulars about how you deliver service to those in that particular environment. And I think that's really important for all of us as pharmacists to keep in mind, because now we're getting to our population's getting to the age where we actually may be taking care of an older adult and their caregiver child, and they're both over 65 or both over 60. So we've got 2 generations that are fitting the older adult criteria that we can help individually or help the caregiver take care of mom or dad or grandma or grandpa. So I think it's really important that we focus our training and our education and opportunities to be able to provide services no matter where people live.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like pharmacists used to be, this is the drug that you should be on or, shouldn't be on, just based on the disease. This is the blood pressure medicine that you should be on. And I feel like today the conversation is much deeper. Now it's, because you live at home and you go out a lot, you're mobile, this is the medication that you should be on in this class of medications that you should be on. Like, so it's gotten a lot more complex, and the practice channels provide that structure that says, yeah, we're all dealing with older adults and we're all looking at these medications and whether or not we should be using them or where we should be using them. But where you practice and who you see is going to really determine, what part of that information you use and how you apply it to them. That's important.
And I think a lot of pharmacists these days, may actually practice in multiple practice channels. Monday and Tuesday, you're working in a pharmacy dispensing meds, so your operations. I don't know, Wednesday and Thursday, you're reviewing charts at a nursing home, and Friday, you're going home visits for home health that you work for, your same company. So pharmacists are moving back and forth against across areas of practice, following the patients.
Absolutely. Rob, what do you think?
I in what I have found this year in working closely with Marsha, we usually think very closely about a variety of issues, and I totally agree with her. The only thing that I would probably add is I feel like scope of practice is changing a lot. I mean, think about incident to billing and the opportunities for us as pharmacists and healthcare professionals, in addition to all those different practice channels. And I think that's just a great way of putting it, is those practice channels where we are taking care of those older adults, because there's older adults in hospitals, there's older adults in SNF, there's older adults in the community. And we all know that there are not enough nursing home beds for everybody that needs that level of care. And so we're seeing acuity creep in assisted living. And there's a lack of regulations in there that in many states that a pharmacist intervention would help for so many reasons. And I'm hopeful that as people gain awareness, like Marsha was talking about, that we'll see some more regulations around that and the requirement or the need for a pharmacist to intervene for some of those other levels of care.
Yeah,
certainly. I'm glad you brought that up, Rob, because I think we've seen it because we've been in this industry so long, but the skilled buildings are more of a post-acute step-down unit now. They're in and out rehabbing, but the ALs are what skilled was 15, 20 years ago. And the reality of it is there's not enough beds, but yet we got the tsunami of seniors coming on board. And so the long-term care pharmacy experts need to be able to get out to those communities as well. I know Synchrony, I'm worked very close to them over the years. They have a very large, diversified type of beds that they take care of. It's not just focused on one type. And I know they do some delivery at home and that kind of stuff. And they have the wherewithal to be able to expand and do that. But I see a lot of long-term care pharmacies, if they're smaller or independent, kind of just are holding on to their last few beds and not being able to adapt to that transition of at home or in different kind of settings.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. What is it? We're in February. I'm gonna make the statement that I feel pretty good about pharmacist provider legislation this year. I always have to be very thoughtful when I say it, because I feel like in 1996, when I graduated with my BS in pharmacy, we're talking about provider status. And here we are in 2025. But the test, treat, vaccinate piece of legislation, the ECAPS legislation from last year that identifies a pharmacist as a bona fide provider in the Social Security Act, does have a chance this year, because the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, is going to push forward 3 healthcare bills, and one of them is that bill, which is extraordinarily powerful from a government perspective, that he's leaning in to that particular piece of legislation. He was a lead on it last year, so it's not new for him, but he's prioritized it, which, I will make no predictions about the political landscape because it is chaotic right now, but it's a good sign. And to your point, Rob, I think we're going to see pharmacists rise into some things that they can do that they weren't allowed to do before, because they're good at it, because we do need them to do it. It always makes me think, people have always asked me, provider status. I think if you look at the healthcare system, the number of older adults, the propensity that they use medications, you simply can't do healthcare without a pharmacist doing those kinds of things. I mean, it won't work. So it's got, the legislation and the regulation has to follow at some point, or we're going to have people with really bad outcomes because of the mismanagement of their medications. And there's no discipline that can step in and do that and fix that other than pharmacy. So that's my hope.
Yeah, they're getting more and more complex, but they're not getting to the skilled nursing home. That complexity's in the AL with one nurse are at home because they can't afford the hospitality of an AL, or there is no nursing home beds and they're not sick enough or rehabbing. So, we've got to be able to find a way. I think whether the government does it proactively, which is strange to put those two things in the same sentence, proactive government, but whether they do it proactively and let pharmacists be a part of that rural healthcare system, or if they, as a provider, or if not, then we're going to have some pretty devastating outcomes that's going to force them to do it someday.
Yeah.
Well, and then certain states, like I live in California, so California has a waiver program where if someone meets the criteria of being, old enough and disabled enough, as in they would be appropriate for nursing home placement, since the state manages, federal funding here so far, they have programs where we will keep you at home, even though you're sick enough to be in a nursing home, because it's better for you and it's less expensive for the care. So, that opens up opportunities for pharmacists to move into the community, because if you were eligible for a pharmacist medication review in the nursing home, that's a similar type service, maybe not called out, but a service that you should be provided at home. So there's opportunities opening there in different states.
Yeah, that's
and it may even be more needed there.
Yeah,
because you don't have
sure.
the other pieces of the healthcare team as closely knitted together.
With the eye on, and then that brings into view the role of who is around the older adult at home. What's their caregiver? Do they have one? Whether it's formal or informal, somebody to help them with their medications if they're at a point where they need help, and who trains them. We don't really have, we don't go to school, and when we're in school, you don't get like banking 101. So I don't think you get healthcare management 101 either. And maybe that's something we should add to school systems, but nobody teaches anybody how to do anything. So then people learn by modeling after what grandma did or great grandma did. And that might be a good thing or a bad thing today, depending on how they manage their medication. So there's a lot of opportunity for pharmacists to get involved at all kinds of levels to improve the medication care of our aging adults.
Absolutely. Tom, other questions from you?
I'm just looking forward to seeing what evolves here. I know that Rob is in the waitings. We haven't got a State of the Union address from Marsha yet, so it's going to be happening at the first regional meeting, I'm assuming. But we've got some pretty exciting events coming up. I know, Marsha, you've got what's in Rhode Island is the first regional meeting, and we expect there to be pretty good attendance to there. But anything else that you could tell us that's on the rise that you're looking forward to this year, first half of the year?
I'm looking forward to a couple things. One, our fly-in this year, we all need to toot our own horn. The fly-in, the legislative fly-in is, I believe, March 31st and April 1st. Chad, is that right?
Yep.
So there's an opportunity, for folks to come into headquarters there in Alexandria and go through a whirlwind, but very concise, focused effort on the initiatives that ASCP wants to go to the Hill to talk about. And I know we're probably fine-tuning our messaging right now, given the fact that it's a brand new administration, but that's an opportunity. I think we have to toot our own horn. So we have to help people understand what it is that we do. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to, every year the president-elect writes a leadership plan for the presidential year, Rob, and I know you're very busy at doing that, and it takes a lot of time and effort. But it's really trying to listen to our members and have an eye on the environment and other professional aspects to kind of come up with committee charges to move the organization forward as far as providing resources and services for the members it will ultimately benefit our older adults. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how those things are progressing this year. We're like one quarter of the year into it. So things are really busy. So I like to see how the committees are doing. And I guess I'm just really excited to again watch how the opportunities that ASCP can present, that is presenting to our membership on ways to expand your service and do more of what we know how to do in different environments. So if it's not us, it'll be another less qualified healthcare professional who will be picking up those breadcrumbs, and we don't want to leave any breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fly-in. There is a lot of political dynamic right now, and I think the good part about that is I think everybody pays attention to it. It may be good or bad, but you're paying attention to it, and we're not going to know necessarily our messages until a lot closer to the fly-in, based on what legislation is proposed, based on where the administration is going in terms of their efficiency department. But there will be things that we need to express to our leaders in Congress and in the Senate. And it will probably be a particularly important year to make that voice heard. So hopefully everybody does look into that meeting and come out to DC, because we will be able to deliver messages in force. And like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of things for us to talk about.
If I could tag on to that real quickly, I went to the fly-in a few years ago now, and admittedly was nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't been to the Hill. I hadn't had conversations at those offices. I hadn't participated in ASCP's event, but it felt like I needed to. And so I went out on a limb, and I went, and I didn't know what to expect, but I couldn't have been more well prepared. ASCP does a great job of giving you the talking points, making sure that you understand the issues that you're going to talk about. They really couldn't make it any more comfortable and easy. So if you're interested, if your listeners are interested, I really encourage people to go out on that limb, because they do make it such an enjoyable experience. I look forward to it now. And I'm not sure that I would have ever described myself as someone that wanted to go to the Hill and talk to the various offices, but it was a great, great experience. So kudos to ASCP for the good work that they do there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to tag on to that too, because not only does ASCP staff prepare you with, notes and training and education, but you're not there alone. You go with at least one other person to a legislator's office. And it's not for 3 hours of a meeting. The meetings are very short because they're so busy. So your message is very concise. So it's like you're very supported. You're not on the spotlight by yourself, and it's not for hours of time. So the fears that I had the first time were kind of related to the same thing. Rob's not knowing what to expect. Are they going to ask me a question I can't answer? And you don't want to look goofy, anything like that. But, the way ASCP sets you up and the way the actual process is, it all works really well together. So I would encourage anybody who's interested. This is probably a really interesting year to go, and we probably need as many voices as possible so that people understand new president, new term, what pharmacists do and can do.
Yeah. Just one piece of advice: wear comfortable shoes, because you're going to be doing a lot of walking. Don't wear heels or dress shoes.
No. Flat shoes. You do a lot of walking because you're going from one building to the next. So you do get a lot of steps in that day too. There's another
for sure.
And I like what you said, Marsha, because you're not walking anywhere alone. There's a group of people. You do get to visit your particular representatives from your state, which is, I think, appealing to a lot of people. We're also partnering with AAPP, which is the psych pharmacists, and we're partnering with NASPA, which is the Alliance of State Pharmacy Associations. So we're going to have people from different states, different organizations, pharmacists, with us. So we will not be alone. We'll have a good force of people coming. So it'll be pretty cool.
I think the more voices, the better.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, the only other thing I had was every president has like a Secret Service nickname. And so I looked up, President Obama was Renegade. George W. Bush was Trailblazer. Ronald Reagan was Rawhide. President Biden was Celtic. President Trump is Mogul. So we're not going to pick today, but we have to be thinking about our nicknames for the president so that when staff is behind the scenes making sure that you're protected as you walk down the halls of the meetings.
Yeah.
We have a good code word for you.
Oh, that's good. I'd be interested to know what mine gets picked to be.
Yeah, we should put this out. We should put this out on SurveyMonkey to all the members, and
let's
Yeah.
see.
let them pick.
Code names for president and president-elect.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, Marsha, Rob, thank you so much for your service to ASCP, for being president and president-elect. Thanks for being on the show. And we're excited to see your presidential plans take action, and excited to work with you this year.
Well, thanks. I'm excited too, and looking forward to working with Rob next year. He's started that process already of getting his thoughts together, which is a lot of time.
Being president-elect does not mean it's the easy year.
It is not the easy year.
It's not the easy year.
It's a very busy year, but a very meaningful and learning year. So it's really important. But
Rob, if you need help, consult ChatGPT. I'm sure it can answer most of your questions for you.
Thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Little tip alert.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. We'll see you next time on Our Experience.